In this video, I will be teaching you how to produce matted gloss. What is matted gloss? Matte gloss or matted gloss is a type of acrylic-based paint, oil-based paint, or solvent-based paint that is actually matted, just like its counterpart, the water-based matte. That means this type of paint is without sheen, no sheen at all, no reflection. The normal gloss that we know, we always reflect light because it's shiny, so it will reflect light. But this one is muted and matted. In other words, there's no reflection at all. This actually is preferred in architectural painting to its counterpart. It is actually preferred because you can always use it on substrates such as your building and all that, which will give you this vibe of the water-based matte, excellent finish and durability. It can also prevent this bleed through of alkaline on a cemented wall, so it can actually prevent that from actually happening. In fact, I love those paints so much. When you see some of these things, paints that you think it is actually a water-based matte, it probably might not be a water-based matte. It can actually be an acrylic-based matte or gloss that is actually matted or muted. So in this class, that is exactly what I will be teaching you, the formulation and the process. I don't know if you can actually see my board very well. I've actually listed some of the chemicals that we need in its production. Some of the chemicals that I actually need in its production is just the normal and the regular chemicals that you're actually familiar with just one twist or a twist to it, one or two twists to it for you to be able to use it as for you to be able to match that paint. The very first chemical you use, just like we all know, for oil-based paint or solvent-based paint is acid resin, serving as a binder. So for the acid resin, you'll be needing 2 kg, just like the regular and the normal gloss. So this will serve as a binder of the paint. In other words, this is what will hold the paint to the substrates that it is actually being applied. It dries by oxidation, by the help of hair drying and then chemical reaction. So that is basically it. The next thing you actually be needing is your pigment titan. Just like you all know, for coverage you need titan, so you'll be needing titan in this production for coverage, and you'll be needing 0.3. You can actually up this to 0.5 depending on the quality you are actually producing, or you can reduce it to 200 grams depending on the quality you are producing as well. Then we'll be needing 2 system solvents here. The very first solvent you'll be needing, that is what you need to use in mixing the paint, in grinding the paint. The first one you use is kerosene. Kerosene is actually a solvent that is actually used in the production of gloss. Though one caveat about kerosene is that it is actually a weak solvent. It's not that powerful a solvent. Or there are other solvents that are actually much more powerful, that have higher solvency power than kerosene, even than petrol itself. Now we have things like xylene, we have toluene, we have white spirit, we have acetone and all that. So those are solvents that you can actually use, but that is not what you are using for this production. What we are using for this production is 2 system solvents. We are using kerosene 1.2 liters. That is 1.2 liter, to weigh 1.2 kg because of the specific gravity. I don't really know the specific gravity for kerosene. Probably might be 1.1 or something like that. So yeah, you want to use 1.2 liters. So I measure it in liter. You also want to use petrol as the second solvent that you'll be using, which is the PMS, is premium motor spirit. That is another solvent that you'll be using in this production, and you'll be needing 0.8 liters of it. So the next thing you actually use is your mist dryer for chemical reaction and oxidation, so that your paints can actually dry on time. So you'll be needing just 8 grams of that. You'll be needing just 80 grams, I mean to say, you'll be needing 80 grams of that, which is 0.08. That's 0.08 kg. No, so that is 80 grams. You'll be needing 80 grams of mist dryer. The next thing you'll be needing is bentonne, which is also optional. You can choose to use it or not use it. There is other one that is called easy gel. It's just for thickening of the paint. You want to use it to thicken the paint in order to have a better viscosity, not having a running paint. So you want to use bentonne. But just like I said, it is optional. You are using 100 grams of it or 0.1 kg of that chemical. The next one you want to use is Meco, which is with some other person call it anti-skin. In other words, when your paint is actually in the can, you can also call it in-can preservative for solvent-based paints. So it will not allow it to skin, so that there's not going to be oxidation, which causes the top of the paint to thicken or skin, or form a skin layer over that paint while it's actually in storage. The other thing, and the most important thing that you want to use in this paint to get your matted gloss, is called OK412. OK412. Actually, OK412 is a brand name. OK412 is a brand name or a trademark of a company. What is actually inside of OK412 is called silica. It's a precipitated silica, and it is used in matting both water-based paints, and it is used in matting gloss-based paint. Just like I said in one of my video, one of the best filler that you can use in matting paint is silica, precipitated silica, and that is what OK412 is, in order to matte the gloss. So now, we'll now move on to the production process. You'll be seeing the production process on your screen. It will be displayed on your screen so as for you to be able to follow through. Now, majorly you want to follow this step in actually producing the production procedure. No, just the way it is actually listed, or a little bit tweak to it. So this is how you go about it. When you get your mixing container, you bring in your acid resin. You bring in your acid resin. Your acid resin goes into the mixing pot. Then you add little kerosene in order to help this one to loosen up a bit, in order for your acid resin to loosen up a bit. Then you add your titan and you start mixing. So you are not going in at once with all of your 1.2 liters of kerosene. You just want to use little out of it, maybe kg, or maybe half kg of it, as the case may be, in order just to loosen up this. But don't add everything and don't add too much. The reason why is you still want to allow a little bit friction, in your mixing pot with acid. You want a little bit friction so that it can help you grind this your titan, your other pigments that you'll be using, or fillers that you're using, like your bentonne and your OK412. So you want to actually have that in mind. So when you had your kerosene, you go in with your titan and you start mixing. So then you can now come in with your OK412 and then your bentonite. You mix very well, and then you can now add your Meco. Then you had your PMS. Then you can finally top it up with your kerosene. So I will actually allow all of those procedures to be displayed on the screen for you to be able to understand it much more better. See you in our next video.